Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The sky was a pale, cloudless blue that Sunday afternoon, the kind that usually promised tranquility. Nicholas insisted on taking a drive, saying we all needed fresh air after the long week. I agreed, eager to break the routine, though I couldn't ignore the strange distance that had grown between us lately. We hadn't had a real conversation in months. It was all quick kisses on the cheek, rushed mornings, and late nights where he'd slip into bed long after I'd fallen asleep. Betsy, our 4-year-old daughter, was strapped into her car seat behind us, humming a nursery rhyme as her chubby hands clutched her favorite stuffed rabbit. Nicholas was unusually quiet, his eyes fixed on the road, one hand gripping the wheel a bit too tightly. I glanced over at him, trying to decipher his mood. "Everything okay?" I asked, more out of habit than real curiosity. He barely responded to my voice these days. "Yeah," he muttered, not taking his eyes off the road. "Just tired." I nodded, but something about his tone put me on edge. Nicholas used to be full of life, full of charm. The man sitting beside me now felt like a shadow, a stranger. As we drove further into the countryside, passing golden fields and clusters of trees, Betsy's voice suddenly broke through the quiet hum of the car engine. "Mommy, the girl in the trunk wants to come out now." My stomach flipped, and I turned around in my seat to look at her. She was smiling, completely unaware of the bomb she had just dropped. "What did you say, sweetheart?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "The girl," Betsy repeated, her little fingers tapping her rabbit's ears absent-mindedly. "She says she's scared and wants to come out." A cold shiver crawled up my spine, and I shot a glance at Nicholas. His reaction was immediate. His jaw clenched, and his eyes darted to the rearview mirror, flicking between Betsy and the road. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, the muscles in his forearm tensing. "Betsy, that's silly," Nicholas said, his voice strained, almost too casual. "There's no girl in the trunk." "But she said so, Daddy," Betsy insisted, her voice taking on that stubborn, insistent tone that 4-year-olds master so well. "She told me she doesn't want to hide anymore." My heart raced as I watched Nicholas. His face had gone pale, his eyes now fixed firmly on the road ahead. He wasn't just tense, he was afraid. "Betsy, honey," I started, trying to stay calm for her sake. "Are you playing pretend?" She shook her head with a little smile, as if I didn't get the joke. "No, Mommy," she told me in a whisper. Nicholas's knuckles were white against the steering wheel. He cleared his throat, the sound thick with discomfort. "Let's drop this, okay? It's just a game." But it didn't feel like a game. There was something about the way Betsy spoke, so certain, so matter-of-fact, that gnawed at me. I tried to laugh it off, but Nicholas's reaction only deepened my suspicion. Why was he acting so strange? The rest of the drive was suffocatingly silent. Nicholas didn't speak again, his eyes forward, his body rigid. I could feel the tension radiating from him, thick and palpable in the small space of the car. I turned around to Betsy again, watching her swing her legs contentedly, her little lips humming softly. I glanced at the trunk through the rearview mirror, my thoughts swirling. Could it really be possible? Could Betsy have somehow sensed something I had missed? We finally arrived home, and Nicholas practically jumped out of the car before it even came to a stop. He muttered something about needing to make a call and disappeared into the house, leaving me alone with my confusion and a gnawing pit of dread brewing in my stomach. As I unbuckled Betsy from her car seat, her innocent eyes met mine, and she said quietly, "She doesn't like it in the trunk, Mommy. She wants to come out." I tried to smile, tried to play along, but her words echoed in my mind long after we'd walked inside. What girl was she talking about? Was this just a child's imagination, or was there something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface? As I stood in the kitchen, watching Nicholas through the window as he paced the backyard, foam pressed to his ear, I couldn't shake the sense that our lives had just been tipped off balance. Something was wrong, terribly, terribly wrong, and it all started with Betsy's innocent little words. The days after that drive felt like a slow, unraveling thread, pulling at the seams of everything I thought I knew. Nicholas's behavior became more erratic. He stayed late at work, barely speaking to me when he came home, always preoccupied, always distracted. The warmth he once had was gone, replaced by a cold, distant silence that settled between us like a thick fog. and Betsy, with her innocent comments, unknowingly added fuel to the fire. It was a Thursday evening when I decided to confront Nicholas. I couldn't keep quiet any longer. The pit in my stomach had grown too heavy to ignore. He had just walked in, his tie loosened, eyes tired but restless. He barely glanced at me before heading straight to the fridge for a beer. "We need to talk, Nicholas." He paused, the bottle halfway to his lips, and shot me a wary glance. "About what?" I swallowed hard, trying to gather my thoughts. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but Betsy's words had haunted me for days now. Her constant talk about the girl in the trunk wouldn't stop, and Nicholas's obvious discomfort every time she mentioned it was too much to overlook. "About Betsy," I started, my voice steady but firm. "She keeps talking about a girl in the trunk, and I need to know why you're so nervous about it." Nicholas's face stiffened, and he set the bottle down with a hard clink. "Gabriella, it's just a kid's imagination. You're reading too much into it." "Am I?" I crossed my arms, stepping closer to him. "Because every time she says it, you look like you've seen a ghost." "What's going on, Nicholas?" His eyes flashed with something, a mix of anger and fear. But he quickly masked it with indifference. "You're being ridiculous. She's 4. Kids make things up." "I know she's 4, I snapped, my frustration boiling over. "But there's something you're not telling me. You've been acting strange for months, and now this." "I'm not doing this," he cut me off, pushing past me toward the living room. "I'm not entertaining this nonsense." I followed him, my heart pounding in my chest. "It's not nonsense if our daughter is seeing something, Nicholas. She's a little girl. She doesn't just come up with this out of nowhere." He spun around to face me, his eyes dark with frustration. "Gabriella, I'm under a lot of stress at work, all right? You're making something out of nothing. Then tell me the truth." I demanded, my voice rising, "because I don't believe you." The silence that followed was thick and heavy, and I could feel the tension vibrating in the air between us. Nicholas stared at me, his jaw tight, but he said nothing. That silence, that refusal to speak, it was all I needed. He was hiding something, and deep down, I already knew what it was. The late nights, the coldness, Betsy's strange comments, it all pointed to one thing. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, my mind racing, my heart sinking with every new thought. The next morning, while Nicholas was in the shower, I decided to check his phone. I had never invaded his privacy like this before, but something in me had snapped. I needed proof. I needed to know I wasn't going crazy. His phone was on the nightstand, screen glowing faintly in the early morning light. My hands shook as I swiped through his messages. At first, there was nothing unusual. Work emails, messages from friends, the usual. But then I saw it, a name that made my stomach drop. Peyton. I opened the thread and immediately felt sick. Flirty texts, plans to meet, hints of a relationship that had been going on for months. And worst of all, a message from just 2 days ago, confirming my worst fear. It was risky hiding in the trunk, but at least they didn't see me. "Miss you already." I couldn't breathe. My world felt like it was spinning out of control as I stood there, the phone heavy in my hand. Nicholas had been cheating on me, and worse, he had literally been hiding her in the trunk while we drove around with our daughter in the backseat. I barely heard the sound of the water shutting off in the bathroom. I only had seconds before he came out, so I quickly took screenshots of the messages, sending them to my own phone before slipping his back onto the nightstand. My hands were trembling, my heart pounding in my chest. As Nicholas stepped out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around his waist, I looked at him and felt a deep, cold anger settle over me. He had no idea what I'd just discovered, but now I had proof, and I wasn't going to let him get away with it. The name Peyton lingered in my mind like a sour taste. I spent days pretending everything was normal while inwardly seething, every glance at Nicholas filled with resentment. I couldn't confront him just yet. I needed more proof, something undeniable. One evening, I decided to follow him. He told me he had another late meeting, his usual excuse, but I didn't believe it anymore. I watched from the window as he drove off, my heart pounding. I gave him a head start, then grabbed my keys and followed. It didn't take long before his car pulled into a dimly lit parking lot, right outside a bar I had never seen him go to. And there she was, Peyton. She was standing near the entrance, casually flipping through her phone, like she had done this 100 times before. My stomach twisted. I parked a distance away, not wanting to be seen. For a moment, I just watched them together. Nicholas stepped out of the car, smiled at her, and pulled her into a kiss. It wasn't just physical. It had intimacy, something we had lost long ago. My hands tightened around the steering wheel, white-knuckled. I needed to get closer to hear them, but my legs felt like lead. Finally, I forced myself out of the car, keeping low, moving closer until I could hear their voices. "I thought you were going to tell her," Peyton said, her voice soft but impatient. "I will," Nicholas muttered, "but it's not the right time. You don't understand how complicated this is." "Complicated," she scoffed. "You're either leaving her or you're not, Nicholas. You can't keep stringing me along." I wanted to scream, to rush up and confront them, but I stayed rooted, barely breathing. This was my life unraveling before me, and yet I couldn't make a sound. After a moment, Peyton leaned into him, her voice dropping. "Do you think she suspects anything?" He hesitated. "Betsy said something strange, but Gabriella doesn't know." At that, Peyton laughed. "Out of the mouths of babes, huh? Your daughter's more perceptive than you give her credit for." My heart nearly stopped. Even Peyton was mocking me, like I was the fool in my own marriage. They had no idea how close I was, listening to every word, taking in every betrayal. As they turned to head into the bar, I backed away, unseen, tears threatening to fall, but my mind focused on one thing. I had heard enough. It was time to confront the truth. It had been a week since I'd caught Nicholas with Peyton. The betrayal cut deeper with every passing day, but there was something else I couldn't shake. Betsy's words. That hauntingly innocent voice, talking about the girl in the trunk, had turned my world upside down, and the more I thought about it, the stranger it seemed. How could a 4-year-old know something so specific, something she had no way of understanding? I watched Betsy as she played with her dolls on the living room floor. She was humming a tune, oblivious to the turmoil around her, or so I thought. My mind wandered to the past. There had been other moments, other strange things she'd said that I hadn't paid attention to, until now. "Mommy," she had once whispered to me as I tucked her in for bed. "Daddy's going to be gone a lot." At the time, I had dismissed it, thinking she overheard Nicholas talking about his work. But she was right. Shortly after that, his late nights started, and the distance between us grew. I knelt down beside her, brushing a hand through her soft curls. "Betsy, sweetie," I began gently, "remember when you told me about the girl in the trunk?" She paused, looking up at me with those wide, innocent eyes. "Yes, Mommy. How did you know about her?" Betsy blinked, as if the question didn't make sense. "She told me," she said simply, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. My heart skipped a beat. "Who told you, Betsy?" "The girl," she replied as she turned back to her dolls, arranging them with care. "She said she was hiding and didn't want to be found." A chill ran down my spine. Did she say anything else?" Betsy thought for a moment, her little hands busy with her toys. "She said Daddy knows, but he doesn't want to tell you." I froze, goosebumps rising on my skin. It was one thing for Betsy to repeat something she might have overheard, but this, it was as if she had a secret window into things she couldn't possibly understand. "Sweetheart," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "has this happened before? People telling you things like that?" Betsy nodded, still focused on her dolls. "Sometimes, they whisper. It's like a game." My mind raced. Could Betsy have some sort of gift? It was as if she saw right through the world's facades into the secrets people tried to hide. A strange ability that I hadn't noticed until now. I took a deep breath, trying to wrap my mind around it. "What else do they tell you, Betsy?" She shrugged, looking up at me with a smile. "They tell me secrets, Mommy. Like the one Daddy's hiding." I sat back stunned. This wasn't just a child's imagination. Betsy was seeing something I couldn't explain. Something real. And now it seemed the truth about Nicholas was out there, and she had been the first to reveal it. The house was eerily quiet when Nicholas came home that evening. I had put Betsy to bed early, her sweet innocence too precious to be tainted by what was about to unfold. The evidence I had gathered over the past few days was laid out on the dining room table. Text messages, photos, even a recording of a phone conversation between Nicholas and Peyton. My heart pounded in my chest, but I knew there was no turning back. Nicholas entered the house, loosening his tie as he stepped into the hallway. He paused when he saw me standing in the dining room, my arms crossed, the table between us a battlefield of betrayal. Gabriella, he greeted me, his voice cautious. What's all this? Sit down, Nicholas, I said, my tone colder than I had ever heard it. We need to talk. He hesitated, his eyes flicking to the items on the table. A flash of guilt crossed his face, but he quickly masked it with a feigned nonchalance. He pulled out a chair and sat down, his movements slow, deliberate. What is this about? He asked, though the tension in his voice betrayed his attempt at calm. I picked up one of the photos, holding it out to him. It was of him and Peyton, standing far too close outside a restaurant I knew he had never taken me to. You tell me, I replied. His face paled as he looked at the photo. He reached for it, but I pulled it back, not allowing him to touch it. Gabriella, I can explain, he began, but I cut him off. Explain. My voice rose, anger bubbling to the surface. Explain how you've been sneaking around with Peyton while lying to my face? Or maybe you can explain what Betsy saw, Nicholas. Our 4-year-old daughter, who you've been lying to as well. His eyes widened in shock. Betsy, what are you talking about? She told me about the girl in the trunk, I said, my voice trembling with fury. She knew, Nicholas. Our little girl knew about your affair before I did. How could you do this to us? To her? He looked away, guilt now fully etched on his face. Gabriella, Don't you dare try to justify this, I snapped. You've been hiding Peyton, lying to me, and using our daughter to cover your tracks. Did you think you could just keep pretending? That Betsy wouldn't say anything, that I wouldn't find out? Nicholas ran a hand through his hair, the weight of his actions finally crashing down on him. I never meant for it to go this far, he admitted, his voice cracking. I was going to end it, I swear, but things just got out of control. Out of control? I echoed, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You let it go too far the moment you decided to betray your family. Tears welled in my eyes, but I fought them back. You've broken something, Nicholas, something that can't be fixed with apologies. Betsy trusted you. I trusted you. And you threw it all away for what? A fling? A moment of weakness? He hung his head, silence heavy between us. The weight of his betrayal was suffocating. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what needed to be done. This is over, Nicholas. I'm done. Betsy and I deserve better than this. Better than you. Nicholas looked up at me, desperation in his eyes. Gabriella, please. I'll do anything to make this right. I shook my head. It's too late. The damage is done. And now you need to leave. His shoulders slumped, defeat settling over him. Without another word, he stood up and walked out the door, the sound of it closing behind him echoing through the empty house. I stood there, my heart aching, but a strange sense of relief washing over me. It was over. The confrontation, the lies, the deceit, everything was laid bare, and I knew, as painful as it was, that Betsy and I would be okay. Because in the end, truth always had a way of coming out.